For millennia, humanity has told stories about beings no one has ever seen yet everyone has learned to fear. Creatures that dwell on the edge between the real and the imagined. Monsters, spirits, and legends that have crossed centuries, transforming into shadows within our collective memory. But what if some of those stories were not just inventions? I'm Uncle Danny, and you're watching Creatures Mysteries. Here, we explore legends, myths, and stories about beings that defy logic and science, from legendary monsters to creatures that might still exist today. Each episode is a journey through real accounts, investigations, and curiosities that reveal the hidden side of our world. If you love the unknown, subscribe, hit the bell, and join our family of mystery seekers. And tell me in the comments, from which city and country are you watching? Among all legendary figures, the vampire may be the most enduring. A blood drinker hidden in the shadows, blessed or cursed with immortality and an eternal thirst for the life of others. His skin is pale, his fangs are sharp, and his eyes are hollow, stripped of any soul. But the vampire is more than just a monster. He is a symbolic reflection of death, disease, and humanity's fear of the unknown. His origins trace back to ancient Babylon, but it was in medieval Europe that the terror truly took form. Terrified villagers would exhume corpses and drive stakes through their chests, believing it would prevent the dead from rising again. Among them all, one name echoed above the rest: Vlad the Impaler, the man who inspired the legendary Count Dracula. Vampiric beliefs spread across Eastern Europe, where tales of the dead returning to drain the life of the living became almost a religion. In the 18th century, Empress Maria Theresa of Austria even ordered an official investigation into the so-called vampire phenomenon. It was one of the first times a European government had ever taken a mythical creature seriously. Today, the vampire is no longer just a symbol of terror, he has also become an icon of seduction and mystery. Yet the fear remains, because deep down, the idea of a being that survives by feeding on others still feels disturbingly real. In the depths of the Mayan jungles, there is a creature whose very name still sends shivers down the spine: Kamisats, the bat god of death. His name literally means the killer bat, and in the ancient legends, he was the guardian of the underworld, a deity bound to darkness and sacrifice. He was described as a man with the head of a giant bat, wings spread wide, and claws sharp enough to tear through both flesh and stone. In some traditions, he stood over 2 meters tall, with a wingspan large enough to block out the light of the sky. His kingdom was Xibalba, the world of the dead in Mayan mythology, a place feared by both mortals and gods alike. Kamisats was said to decapitate a man with a single strike. He appears in the Popol Vuh, the sacred Mayan epic, as one of the deadly challenges faced by the twin heroes. Regions of Guatemala and southern Mexico still hold traces of his cult caves filled with carvings of bats with open wings and haunting faces. Today, Kamisats lives on in popular culture, in comics, films, and games as a symbol of that primal fear of what lurks in the night. Perhaps he is not merely a forgotten god, but a dark echo of the terror we feel when faced with the unknown. In the heart of the ruins of Crete, the legend of the Minotaur still echoes: the man-bull of the labyrinth. A colossal being, with the body of a man and the head of a bull, wandering through endless stone corridors, roaring with hunger and loneliness. Queen Pasiphae, cursed by a god, gave birth to this impossible creature. Ashamed, King Minos ordered Daedalus to build the labyrinth, a prison without end, designed to conceal his family's disgrace. There, the Minotaur was confined, feeding on young men and women sent as tribute. Until one day, Theseus, the Athenian hero, decided to face the beast. With the help of Ariadne and a simple ball of thread, he entered the maze, fought, and emerged victorious. The myth of the Minotaur speaks not only of monsters, but of mental prisons, of inner labyrinths that we all build for ourselves. Curiously, excavations in Knossos have uncovered structures that resemble the maze described in the legends. And ancient paintings depict rituals with bulls, as if the myth had been born from very real ceremonies. Among all the creatures that truly existed, none inspires more terror than the megalodon. A prehistoric shark over 60 feet long, with teeth the size of a human hand and jaws powerful enough to crush an entire car. It hunted whales and ruled oceans where no other predator dared to swim. Fossilized teeth and vertebrae have been found on every continent from Europe to Australia. Many of these teeth are so well preserved that they look recent, leading some to believe the creature might still be alive. The name Megalodon literally means giant tooth. And it's no exaggeration, a single tooth could measure almost 8 inches long. Over time, it became a cultural icon, appearing in movies, documentaries, and conspiracy theories alike. Some swear that massive creatures still hide in the deepest, darkest zones of the ocean. The Megalodon was real, and perhaps that's what makes it the most terrifying of all sea monsters. Few speak of it, but those who have seen it never forget. The rake is a pale, emaciated figure, with arms far too long for a human body. Its eyes are two hollow pits, and its skin looks drained of all life. It doesn't speak, it doesn't run, it doesn't scream, it simply watches, motionless in the dark. And that is exactly what makes it so terrifying. The legend of the rake was born on the internet, in the shadowy forums of the early 2000s. Accounts describe people waking up in the middle of the night only to find the creature standing silently in the corner of the room. It doesn't move, but everyone claims they feel its presence long before they actually see it. Some swear they've heard whispers in an incomprehensible language, a meaningless murmur that comes right before the panic. Today, the rake has become a symbol of digital folklore. The monster that watches in silence, always lurking just beyond the edge of sight. Among the ancient fishermen of Scandinavia and northern Canada, there is a name few dare to speak aloud: the sea devourer. They say it rises without sound, without waves, without warning, it simply appears. It is described as a dark, viscous mass with no eyes, and a mouth so enormous it stretches across half its head. Some claim its body is the size of a bus, others insist it's far larger. But all agree on one thing: when it emerges, the sea falls silent. The earliest accounts tell of entire boats vanishing in calm waters. No storm, no struggle, no trace, only emptiness. The sea devourer doesn't attack out of anger, it simply swallows whatever it encounters. As if the ocean itself had decided not to return what it has taken. To this day, the myth endures among sailors, a whispered warning that there are places where the sea owns every fate. In the deep caverns of South Africa dwells an ancient creature known as the Grutslang. It is described as a colossal serpent with the head of an elephant and shimmering, gem-like scales. Legends say it stretches more than 40 feet long and guards caves overflowing with diamonds and precious stones. According to myth, when the gods created the world, they made a mistake, combining an elephant and a snake into one single being. Terrified by the result, they separated the two species, but one Grutslang escaped. Since then, it has lived in the caves of Richtersveld, protecting its treasures and devouring anyone who dares to come near. Explorers who sought it were never seen again. Some accounts speak of glowing orange eyes in the dark and a massive shadow sliding beneath the earth. To the local people, the Grutslang is not just a legend, it's an ancestral warning. A reminder that some riches cost far too much to pursue. In the frozen forests of northern Canada and the United States, there is a name carried by the wind: Wendigo. A ravenous creature made of bones, torn flesh, and eyes that burn like embers in the dark. According to indigenous folklore, the Wendigo is born when a man, consumed by unbearable hunger, commits the forbidden act of cannibalism. The moment he feeds on another human, his soul is lost and he transforms forever. His body stretches, his skin cracks, and his mind becomes enslaved to an endless appetite. The Algonquian tribes describe the Wendigo as a spirit of winter, a force that personifies greed and despair. It wanders aimlessly through the snowy woods, drawn by the scent of living flesh. They say its scream echoes like the howl of the wind, and its presence makes the cold grow sharper. Some believe the Wendigo can possess people, turning them into monsters like itself. Others say it's just a reflection of our darkest instincts, the hunger that fear awakens inside us. There are hunters who swear they've seen enormous footprints in the ice, far larger than any known animal. Mysterious disappearances in remote regions are still attributed to it. Anthropologists claim the Wendigo myth was a warning, a lesson that hunger and isolation can drive even the purest man to madness. But what if it's more than metaphor? What if something truly hungry still stalks the frozen woods? The Wendigo reminds us that real horror doesn't always come from the outside. It's born when humans cross the line of morality, when despair devours reason. Inside each of us lies a sleeping Wendigo, the part that fear and need can awaken. That's why, in the legends, it never dies, it only changes faces. Because as long as there is hunger, there will be monsters. The Wendigo continues to inspire films, series, and modern horror stories. But to the people who first spoke its name, it isn't fiction, it's a living force of nature. An invisible presence that watches, waiting for the next soul to lose itself in the snow. And when the cold becomes too strong, you might just hear the whisper of the Wendigo around you. Silent, starving, and eternal. Few legends are as ancient or as dangerous as that of the woman in the mirror. They say she lives within reflections, trapped between the world of the living and the realm of shadows. Her face changes depending on the fear of the one who gazes upon her, and her stare is as cold as the glass that imprisons her. In some cultures, she is seen as a vengeful spirit, in others, as a guardian of the gateways between realities. But everyone agrees on one thing: she must never be called by name. The origin of the legend remains uncertain. Some claim it began in 17th century Europe, when mirrors were believed to be windows to the afterlife. Others trace it back to ancient rituals, where reflections were used to summon lost souls. The woman in the mirror, they say, is one of those spirits trapped by human error, condemned to wander between dimensions. She appears mostly at night, when the lights go out and silence grows too deep. They say if you stare into a mirror long enough, the reflection begins to move on its own. The eyes blink out of sync, the expression changes, and for a brief moment, you see someone or something watching you back. Some call it pareidolia, a trick of the mind. But others swear they've seen the reflection smile before the mirror cracked on its own. In old houses, people tell of dark-clad women appearing behind the glass, their faces streaked with black tears. Since ancient times, the mirror has symbolized passage. It reflects the body, but also the soul, and sometimes, things that should never be seen. Occultists once said that every mirror holds a shadow, and that if you stare too deeply, it will stare back. That's why in many traditions, mirrors are covered after someone's death. For it was believed the soul of the departed might get trapped inside, beside her. Today, the woman in the mirror lives on in screens and urban legends. They call her by many names: Bloody Mary, Veronica, La Dama del Cristal. But the ritual is always the same: 3 candles, a mirror, and enough courage to face what lives in the reflection. Skeptics laugh, the curious try, and some are never the same again. Because sometimes, what you see in the mirror isn't you. Every creature you've met in this video is more than just a legend. They are mirrors of the human soul. They represent our oldest fears, our forbidden desires, and our eternal fascination with the unknown. Some were born from stories told by the fire. Others, perhaps, from encounters science still cannot explain. But they all share something in common: they survive through time because fear is immortal. And as long as there is darkness, there will be eyes staring back from within it. Human beings need mystery as much as they need air. It's what drives us to question, to search, to imagine. That's why creatures never truly die, they only change shape, adapt, and reappear in new places and faces. And maybe, as you listen to these stories, one of them remembered you. Maybe, right now, something unseen is watching back. But fear, when faced, transforms into power. It teaches us to look beyond the obvious, to accept that not everything needs an explanation to be real. It is within that space between the visible and the impossible that true curiosity is born. And that's where we live. Each creature is a key, each legend a door. And it's up to us to decide whether or not to open it. So, it doesn't matter if you believe or not, what matters is that you feel the mystery. Because sometimes, the most frightening thing isn't what lurks outside, but what lives within us. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and remember, the unknown never sleeps. It only waits for the next one to seek it, and that someone might be you. If you enjoyed this journey into the unexplainable, leave a like, subscribe to Creatures Mysteries, and hit the bell. Keep traveling with me, Uncle Danny, across the border between the real and the impossible. And tell me in the comments which of these creatures do you believe still walks among us? The answer may be closer than you think. Enter the unknown. Discover the impossible. Live the mystery.